And I just got one more thing to say. How about them Cowboys?
What's going on, Cowboy Nation and angry Cowboy fans around the world? Y'all definitely know who it is. It's your boy, the Angry Cowboys fan here on YouTube, the place where y'all can find my raw and uncut emotions about the Dallas Cowboys 24/7, 365. And as long as I'm alive, y'all know I'm DC for life, baby. And if you're DC for life, won't you go ahead, hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't you join the thousands of angry Cowboys fans as we cheer on the Dallas Cowboys through the 2023 playoffs and beyond, ladies and gentlemen. On this morning's segment of Get Up, Greeny had Dan Orlovsky and Stephen A. Smith on as guests, so you know that the Dallas Cowboy hate was gonna be thick. Greeny opened it up with a sad question to Stephen A. Smith. So we're going to quickly listen to what Greeny and Stephen A. Smith had to say, and then we're going to come back and unpack my raw and uncut. So, angry Cowboys fans, take a listen.
Stephen A., whenever anything happens with the Cowboys, you are the first one everyone thinks of. Everything broke their way. They got the 2 seed. Everyone but San Francisco is going to have to come through. Are you nervous? Are you trepidatious? Is there fear in the soul of Stephen A. that this is finally the year that they make a trip to the Super Bowl?
Well, I would say fear is going a bit too far, but when you use the word trepidatious, I'll concede that definitely is plausible in this moment in time. I think this is their best shot since 1995 to get back to the Super Bowl. There's no question about it. Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the National Football Conference. We have to concede that CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott appear to be the best combination. The Philadelphia Eagles have appeared to nosedive, even though I thought the Detroit Lions should have won and got robbed a couple of weeks ago in Dallas. Obviously, Dallas will be better prepared for them if they end up facing one another again, because it will have to be in Dallas. I think that's a negative for the Detroit Lions. It comes down to the fact that the Dallas Cowboys, as presently constructed, the way things have fallen, I don't think there's any doubt that it should come down to the Dallas Cowboys meeting the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game. I think that's the way it looks, and I am an objective individual, and I am fair-minded. I will concede that this is the best shot that the Dallas Cowboys have had to make the Super Bowl since 1995.
You know, one thing that's sad is it's about how Greeny opened that clip. Whenever anything happens with the Dallas Cowboys, you are the first one that everyone thinks of. Is this true, Cowboys Nation? Because it's not true for me. Stephen A. Smith is not the first thing that I think of when the Dallas Cowboys win. It's not like I sit there and say, I wonder what Stephen A. is thinking about this game as the game is happening. I don't think about him when we've won or we lost the game. I think about the team. I think about the players, the scheme, the play on the field. Talking heads are about the last thing that I think of when something happens with the Dallas Cowboys. It will cross my mind, though. Don't get it twisted. It will cross my mind toward the end of the conversation, especially after a win. You'll catch me saying something like, oh, I can't wait to see what Shady McCoy has to say about this. And a lot of the times it has to do with the Philadelphia Eagles. I say the same thing about Dan Orlovsky when it involves the Buffalo Bills. I say that after a Dallas Cowboy win about all talking heads who hate. I don't think of Stephen A. when we're contemplating a trade or something. I don't think of Stephen A. before, during, or after the draft. I don't think of Stephen A. when one of our players gets injured. Man, stop the cap, Greeny. We all know that Stephen A. Smith is boss over at ESPN. You ain't got a brown nose like that, bro. There Stephen A. Smith goes again. He has this soft, somber voice when he's discussing the Dallas Cowboys. He knows that there's no getting around it. The Dallas Cowboys fought to get that second seed in the playoffs, and it presents itself as the less strenuous route to the NFC Championship. There's nothing that he can say about it. The only thing that he can do is hate. He did mention that he thought that the Lions got screwed. That brings me to one of my points, and it was a post on Facebook. One of my friends, who's a Detroit Lions fan, he talked about the Cowboys fans being the only ones who continue to bring up the 2-point conversion conversation. That is far from the case. If I'm speaking about it as a Cowboys fan, I'm defending the Cowboys. I'm bringing the fact that no one wants to mention the phantom tripping call that gave life to the Detroit Lions' comeback chances in the first place. That gets glossed over, just like Stephen A. glosses over when Dan Orlovsky brought it up, and he did it again when Swagoo brought it up. Cowboys fans are thinking about Wild Card Weekend. We're thinking about the Washington Commanders last week. We're not thinking about the Detroit Lions gamemanship and how they played themselves right now. We're celebrating our playoff positioning and moving forward. Greeny asked Stephen A. if there's a fear in his soul that this is the final year that they make the trip to the Super Bowl. Why would anyone have a fear in a team's success unless they didn't like said team? Moreover, why does Greeny think Cowboys Nation actually gives a damn about what Stephen A. has to say about the Dallas Cowboys? To me, this was a waste of a segment. We already know your position, Stephen A. At this point in time, it's starting to sound like a broken record. You cry when the Dallas Cowboys win, and you laugh when the Dallas Cowboys lose. End of your bit. What Stephen A. does is the equivalent of someone saying the Cowboys are going to lose sometime before the Super Bowl and celebrating when they actually lose before the Super Bowl. Would y'all like the weatherman saying, it's going to rain sometime before February? No, they would be incompetent at their job, but it somehow works for these talking heads. But during that segment, they go on to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, and Stephen A.'s tone changes. So we're going to take a listen to that, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to unpack my raw and uncut. Y'all ain't going to want to miss this. Y'all going to want to stick around for this because I got something to say. So, Stephen A., go ahead, take it away.
The Eagles have gone from the Super Bowl and 10-1 to right now legitimately looking like as bad a team as there is in the NFL. If they get unceremoniously bounced out of here, what do you think the fallout could be?
No, it's just going to be a lot of noise, but nothing more than that. The reality is they look like trash. We all know this. They've looked horrible over the last 5 to 6 weeks. But you have to take into account a couple of things. Number one, Jalen Hurts wasn't healthy throughout most of this season. He played through a lot of situations. That's number one. Number two, you lost both coordinators to Arizona and Indianapolis, respectively, and there's a lot to be said for that. So I think that will come into consideration along with some additional bodies. My man Shannon Sharp's going to come on here in a little while to break all of that down for all of us because the brother knows more football than most of us, okay? See, I'm looking at him right now. He's smiling because I'm telling the truth. But in the end, here's what it comes down to. Regardless of what we want to break down about the Philadelphia Eagles, they've been a colossal disappointment to start off 10-1 and then the nosedive the way that they have. They can make amends by beating the Tampa, but in the end, what it comes down to is that they look like a shell of themselves, and it just goes to show how important chemistry is, and that's not just about the players. That's about your coordinators. They lost both in the offseason last year, and obviously that played a significant role because they don't seem to have their act together at all, and that's just the way that it looks right now. I don't expect much from the Philadelphia Eagles this postseason, and I don't think anybody else does either, including folks in Philadelphia.
Stephen A. talked real about the Philadelphia Eagles. He talked about them being a shell of themselves. He doesn't expect much from the Philadelphia Eagles during the postseason. He gave excuses like Jalen Hurts being injured throughout the season, but that wasn't talked about a month ago, was it? This wasn't the energy a month ago. The tables have turned and the Dallas Cowboys are in the driver's seat now. Why isn't Stephen A. talking about the Cowboys like he was talking about the Eagles? The only one on ESPN that thought the Eagles were bad at a 10-1 record was Shannon Sharp. He was agreeing with us saying that the Philadelphia Eagles are showing you who they really are and it's going to come back to bite them in the butt come the end of the season. Stephen A was asked about if the Eagles get bounced in the first round, what would be the fallout? And Stephen A said it's going to be a lot of noise and nothing much more than that. The Philadelphia Eagles have nosedived to 11-6. And if the Dallas Cowboys were to have had that season, Stephen A. Smith would be on set with that stupid ass hat talking about how he knew that the Dallas Cowboys would blow it and go into the playoffs limping. Y'all know he would. He would be dancing around on that set saying, I told you so. He wouldn't be giving Dak Prescott any breaks for playing through an injury. He wouldn't be talking about the new play calling. It would be the greatest time for Stephen A. this year. This hypocrisy, man, I've been talking about it since the beginning of the season, since I started this channel. This is the hypocrisy that makes people want to put hands on Stephen A. This is the hate that needs to stop from analysts, point blank, period. And speaking of haters, logic is lost on a Dallas Cowboy hater. There is no type of reasoning with them. There is no getting them to see your side of the story. There's no wins in discussing football with them. Everything comes back to the Dallas Cowboys being trash, even if they had 3 consecutive 12-5 seasons. Even though they won their division. Even though they broke several team and league records. They suck somehow. I don't know. They suck. Let's keep it a buck. Statistically, the Dallas Cowboys don't suck. Having top 5 players in a few categories, an objective person could see that the Dallas Cowboys do not suck. They've been actually the opposite. A 12-5 NFL record is nothing to sneeze at. That same record, 3 consecutive seasons, does not tell me that this team is trash. Having a quarterback who is having the best season statistically of his career, that doesn't tell me that the team sucks. Having an elite wide receiver 1, decent offensive line, and dogs on the defensive side of the ball, that doesn't tell me that this team sucks. The hate coming from anti-Cowboys fans stems from jealousy and envy. They would love nothing more than for their team to be talked about the way the Dallas Cowboys are talked about. These haters don't seem to understand that even if the Dallas Cowboys were to go 8-9 in a season, that star would be discussed more than their team by the talking heads, and they can't stand it. Now, Eagles fans are mad because we're in the position that they were aiming to get in. They won't look at their team's shortcomings. They'll just say that the Dallas Cowboys are trash and Jalen Hurts is better than Dak Prescott, even though they have nothing to back up their claims. Haters will say nobody cares about what the Cowgirls are doing while going out of their way to click on a Cowboys video to comment on it. Thought you didn't care, bro. Haters project a lot as well. What do I mean by projection? Like when they say the Cowgirls have the refs in their back pocket, not realizing that we're the most penalized team in the league while their team benefits from the screwed up calls. I've seen a lot of haters, Eagles fans, say that they can't stand the Dallas Cowboys because we say that we're going to the Super Bowl every year. But I've also seen Eagles fans post these "we're going to the Super Bowl" memes on social media. Then they say we can't get over the 2-point conversion call, but be the ones to bring it up first. They call us delusional, but in the same sentence say that the Cowboys suck. If that's not delusion, I don't know what is, Cowboys Nation. Delusion is saying that a team is trash when they are statistically not. If you go to these Facebook groups and check out some of the posts, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. You will also see that Stephen A. Smith belongs in one of these groups as well. There's going to come a day where Stephen A. Smith's stick is going to get tiring and played out. There's going to come a time when he says the things about the Dallas Cowboys and it holds zero credibility. The only time that's going to come is when we win the Super Bowl, Cowboys Nation. This year is a prime time to make that run. The Dallas Cowboys are among a very select few that are expected to make the Super Bowl every year, but are the only ones to get laughed at nationwide when we don't. We got to take this one game at a time, Cowboys Nation. We have to put all the noise from the haters to the side and bring the noise for our team. We face a good Green Bay Packers team with a great running back in the backfield. It's time to silence the critics and bring the noise to AT&T Stadium this Sunday versus the Packers. We have a shot at making the NFC Championship if we play home Dallas Cowboy football. Let's put the haters to bed and go on this run. This has been your boy, the Angry Cowboys fan. What did you think about what Stephen A. Smith had to say? What did you feel about my commentary? Let's have that conversation in the comment section. I gotta give a shout out to Bobby Pruitt for hitting me up on Facebook about Stephen A. I was actually watching the same clip when you hit me up in my DMs, bro. Great minds, my friend. Great minds. If you're new to the channel, if you're digging the content, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell so you can stay up to date with the Angry Cowboys fan YouTube channel whenever I go live or whenever I release a video. The Dallas Cowboys needs us to get loud, Cowboys Nation. Let's continue to rep them boys through the playoff run. This has been your boy, the Angry Cowboys fan, and I'm out.